Well, hey, we have a new intro. Hope you like it. So just to set the scene, we'll be looking at our primary camera. So before I start on that though, I think I better show you the old one and the reason why I got it. Okay, let's start with the primary camera. This is the old camera, the Canon 600D. This is the one that I gave away to my daughter. She got obviously the body and the lens that came with it. This is not an image stabilization lens. It has an autofocus and manual focus, but it doesn't have image stabilization like one on the new camera. So there's two settings on the top. There's one for video and then automatic, which is all set for photo mode. So the reason why I chose this, chose the new camera over this, is because it shoots in 4K. So what I'm going to do is set this one is already set to video actually, and set it on, and then the menu, and then pop me into the menu. I'll need to go to the right hand side because there's more choices. Not quite the same with both the cameras, but this one will only go to 19.2 by 1080, so it's not 4K. So when I switch this again to the green automatic setting, this is for pictures mode. Menu again, and that will take me into the raw and large. Now if I choose that and go into it, first of all you can only see that it does 18 megapixels, whereas my new one does 24, which is more pixels per picture, therefore it's a sharper image. So that's that one. Okay, so this is my new camera. So it's our primary camera. I know, funnily enough, it's actually got a lesser model number, 250, than a 600, but there we go. They Canon have decided to go backwards in their numbers. So the new one has got an 1855 as well. However, I've elected to use the wide angle lens, and which, as you've seen in the previous videos, it just shows more footage. It has image stabilization built into the lens. The 3 gram plus cameras are the ones that have image stabilization built into the camera, not so much the lens. Or you can buy both image stabilization in the camera and the lens, but this one hasn't. In terms of its settings, and you can see the menu is slightly different, so it still has the same pop-up rotation screen on it. It's still set to automatic, but this time I've got a choice of either video or camera mode. So I'll put it onto camera mode, turns itself on, hit the menu, and you can see that already it does 24 megapixels instead of 18 that this one did. We'll turn it off again and then switch it back to video, and then hit that button on it. You can see that that one immediately says 4K 25 frames per second. So this is the main reason why I got these two together. But what it does also mean from our expense point of view, all the lenses that I previously purchased for that camera, I can then reuse on this camera, so I don't have to make another massive investment. So the first test we'll do is a picture comparison between the two cameras. Now there's only 18 to 24 megapixels, so there's not much of a difference, but the image on the left I fancy is slightly sharper than that on the right. Okay, the next section is all about lenses. Now I reckon I can get away with 4 of them, so here goes. I bought this as a bundle, so the EOS 250D actually came with this lens, which you get free. Well, it's not free, it's part of the bundle that comes with it, so you do pay for this, but it's not full cost. This is very similar to the one that I gave to Sam, but she has not got image stabilization, which this one has. So that's when I first got into image stabilization. I thought that would be good. I also added this lens to that bundle as well, and this one is the telephoto lens, which also has image stabilization on it as well. And this lens is the one, the macro lens, which I already had. Now this is not a cheap lens, it's quite expensive, but I have, and this one doesn't have image stabilization. But having said that, do you even need image stabilization on something that you're closely shooting? So I don't think so. And then I bought separately this lens, which is probably my new favorite. I'm using this most of the time now. It has an image stabilization and it is widescreen. So yeah, so there we are. So I reckon I can get away with just those 4. So let's make a start with what I'm going to call the normal lens. So this is one that normally comes with the camera when you buy the bundle. Now this is its furthest away, this is its close-up. Then I'm going to move on to the telephoto lens, but it has more scope to be able to bring things nearer. So the first shot you're seeing here is over the top of the hedge, and then bringing it down to the pot, so you can see it's a damn sight closer. So moving on, this is the macro lens. Now this is a real close-up lens, so I'll be able to see a fingerprint on my finger here, or even a bug on a leaf. And to the wide angle lens, you'll see that I'm just getting a fuller frame throughout, and when you see this in the video scenario a bit further on, you'll see it's a much better solution all round. So let's do a little bit of comparison between the two cameras. You'll notice also that on the left hand side of the video you're about to see is the 4K one, on the right hand side is the 1080p. You'll notice on the right hand side that we do have some lag in terms of writing to the memory card. Both memory cards are the same in both cameras, so it's not that. So again, we'll play this again. There's the lag, you can see some blurriness and a lot more jumpiness on the right hand side as well, because we don't have steadiness, which was stabilization, which we do on the 4K camera. And this time we're using the 4K camera, but the two lenses. So you can see in the top section is the normal lens, the bottom one's the wide angle, and as you can see there's a lot more information in there. Both have image stabilization on those lenses, so it's a case of having more information in the bottom shot.
What are you doing, Mum?
Petting Dad's hair.
What are you doing? It's not very gentle, is it? I'm not worried at all.
You shouldn't be worried because I'm skill.
I'm not saying anything whilst you're concentrating.
I'm concentrating. Right, you're done. Off you go.
That's not too bad. She didn't do such a bad job there, did she? Ah, fabulous. Anyway, right. So this section is all about filters and accessories that I've got for this, our prime camera as such. So what we'll do is we'll start with the filters piece first. If I just take this one as an example, this one actually, if you have a look behind me, is actually changing the colour of the actual image that the picture, that the video or the camera is going to take. So that's the purpose of these things. Now there are lots and lots of different ones and lots of different sizes. In fact, I'll choose this one. This is our macro lens. So this is designed for very close up work anyway. So what you need on this one is to look at, I'll find it there. So this is a diameter 52. So the diameter going around this one, for me to screw in one of these, needs to be a 52. Now obviously that one won't fit because that one is actually a 58 lens. So if I haven't actually bothered with that one, because when you're doing close-up work anyway, do you actually need a filter on the end of it? I don't think you do, so I've had no issues, so I haven't bothered with it. But on the normal lenses and the telephoto lenses, these are both 58s. Now this one already has a filter on it. This one is a protection lens. It's not actually doing anything. All it does is protect the lens which is underneath. The one that's on here is a UV filter that's on it. Now, most people use these as a lens protector, as I found out these days, because you would worry about it if you were looking at a pair of sunglasses, as in UV lights coming onto your eyeballs. Do you really worry about it when it comes to a lens? I don't think you do. So that's another range of filters that perhaps you can get away with. Now, this one is not a 58. So as you can see on it is 67. So none of the filters that I have will fit on this one. Well, as I have, because I've been out and bought this pack here. Now in there we have got 4 filters, and for example, these are all neutral density ones. So these are like sunglasses, if you in effect, if you think, for camera lenses, and they have numbers on them. So 8 is the strength of this lens, and I'll just pop this on the table so you can see the colors. This one is a 2, and then I think it's this one is a 4. So I'll just move this lens out of the way as well so you can see those. So I don't see much of a difference at all, even with the 2 and the 4 actually on the camera. So I'm thinking they're fairly useless. What I did buy it for though is this polarization lens. Now, if you have sunglasses and you've got polarized sunglasses, I'll just put that up there so you can see it. You tend to find you can actually see through like water, for example, and see fish through it. So that's the reason why I wanted this one. What I've actually done is purchased a variable ND filter lens. So what it will do is it will replace the need for me to have a 2 and a 4 and an 8 and a 16 and a 32 and so on. So I can do all of this on one lens. Well, think about your sunglasses story. You're going to be doing the same thing. Do you have lots of different sunglasses depending on how bright things are? Probably not.
Anyone want to buy all his lenses that he's bought before he discovered the all singing, all dancing one? Because we've got bloody loads of them.
No, it's not that well. This is going to cheer you up as well. But she does have a point, because this one, as you can see, is a polarization lens, and this was. I'll just turn that round so you can see it. See how much it was, right? And this is now broken. So this is the bin job. So I just thought I'd save it for the benefit of Fiona. And you can also see that I've got a UV one in here, and that's it's never been out of the box. That was a few quid as well. So that's another one that
Story of my life, folks, with Steve. Story of my life.
But anyway, so filters, yeah. So I'm looking forward to the new one. It does have an ND stop of 2000, which will then give it a milky look to like water flows and clouds and so on. You'll see that coming up on videos later on. So accessories. Now Fiona will be excited by this because I did save some money. So we'll just bring this lens back in.
Oh, did you save any money, or did you just buy some other gadget at a slightly cheaper price?
Excuse me. But anyway, so imagine this lens is on the front of the camera. I just buy this, screw that on the end of it and lock it in position, and that then gives me the ability to have just some shade as well as filtering if I want to. Now the problem with this is, because it will fit the 58s, it won't actually fit on the front of my new lens. So I did have to order another one, but I didn't spend money on the £70 Canon bit of plastic. I just spent a couple of £3 on the Chinese one that's coming in the post. So yeah, anyway, I just thought I'd mention that. So that's that. Now, the other thing I got years ago was a flash, because there's the flash that's on the camera. As you can see, it's massive. It does such a great job of illumination. This doesn't. So what I've had to do is purchase a bigger lens. Here she comes again. What now? What now?
What? Oh, what he's had to do? I don't think so.
Oh, yes it did.
No.
Yes it did. Yes it did.
No.
Anyway, so I needed a better picture at night time, so I bought a decent lens. Now the other one, apart from the size difference on here, this one actually does clip onto there, and you can see there are connectors on top of the camera, and it will then tell this to fire as and when it wants to. The other nice thing about this is I can actually articulate this, so it doesn't have to be dead straight. It can be around the sides or off walls, and there are diffusion filters that I can put on there as well. If you happen to be one of these super duper photographers, which I'm not, you can actually have this as a series of flashes that and they're all linked together, and you can put them in master slave mode. And you can then set it up to zoom and do all sorts of, I don't do any of that lot, but it's just nice to have a decent camera to take a decent picture with a decent flash. Anyway, so there's one other thing I forgot, and it's called Free Will, but it's actually a very small filter. It's actually for the drone. Now the drone that we have is one with a zoom lens on it as well, and when it's up flying quite high, you need to have better than an ND4 or an ND8. So this one's an ND16. It also has polarization built into it. Just wish they did that on these, but there we go. So it's got both. More on that drone later, because that'll be on a separate video.
Bet you never thought you'd get a 10 whole minutes on filters, did you? Woohoo!
There's not 10 more minutes.
It's 15 actually.
So let's have a little summary of the three main ones. The ultraviolet's first one up, and that one is not mainly used. Fluorescent FLD, that one is used. I'm probably going to look into that. I have done some video in the past for Fiona on one of her conferences, and as you can see, it does strobe. The next one up is the circular polar linear.
I mean, what a long-winded way of saying polarization, but anyway, coming up there is a picture that I've taken with and without the polarization lens. You're looking at the building on the bottom of the screen, and you can see that we have slightly more blue in the frame than we do without the filter. Next up are those neutral density filters. Now, they're not the answer to everything, but as you can see, we have a picture here with the filter and then without. Now I fancy the one without is slightly better actually. Also in direct sunlight it does form rays, so if you have a look at the with and then without, you'll see obviously the shot is blown out anyway, but yeah, there's a better picture. Well, that's it for this one. We hope you found it useful, and please don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell. Thank you.